Welcome back to 1 month 1 deck. This is week 2 with Mega Venusaur. And this week I decided to skip tournaments entirely and instead focus on refining the list and getting more comfortable with a wider range of matchups. So here's the updated list. I tested quite a few different cards this week, but after a ton of games, only 2 changes ended up sticking. And what are those changes? I took out the Wellspring Ogerpon and the Water Energy that supported it and replaced them with Wo-Chien and Wally's Compassion. Now, and after testing, Wellspring just felt too inconsistent to me, so I swapped it out for Wo-Chien, which brings 2 big changes to the table. So its first attack is solid for early to mid-game turns where you need to attach and build up energy, because it gets you back up to 2 of your Grass Energy from your discard and puts them onto your benched Pokemon. But its second attack that really makes it worth running. It deals 140 damage, which can one-shot Cornerstone since it's weak to grass, which is a matchup that was nearly unwinnable before. On top of that, it makes the defending Pokemon's attack cost 2 more energy on your opponent's next turn, which is huge against decks like Crustle, Dragapult, and even Mega Kangaskhan as well. As for Wally's Compassion though, I felt that the deck really needed a reliable healing option, and I'd love to run 2 copies of Wally's, but the only real cut that you could make is taking out the Picnic Basket, which I still think is very important, especially for spread matchups like Grimmsnarl. Here's a little trick, by the way, for Wally's. If you're using it to heal a Mega Venusaur, you can move off your energy first so they don't get bounced to your hand, or if you've got unused Teal Mask Ogerpons, you can leave some energy on Venusaur so you can get multiple free draws that turn by bouncing those energy and then using the Teal Mask ability. And those are the only changes this week, but honestly, both the deck and I are feeling a lot more confident now. And if you want to try out this version of the list yourself, it's linked in the description below. Alright, with all that being said, let's jump into game number 1. Alright, so the first game is up against Pidgeysard, and this is one of our better matchups, and as you can see, my hand is actually pretty good here. We're getting down double Teal Mask plus the Bulbasaur. That's exactly what you want. From this Bug Catching Set, we get a Ivysaur and a Energy, which is huge. That means that we can get a extra draw right here. We also have a Earthen Vessel in hand, which we can use next turn to get 2 more draws, and then we have the Iono to back it up as well. So we have a pretty decent turn 1 setup here going first. Now, our opponent is going to go into Arven and then Buddy Poffin. They get down a Pidgey and a Charmander, and then they attach an energy and they're able to TM Evo here. So that way then they can get into a Pidgeot and a Charmeleon. So they are pretty much set up as well, meaning if they have a Pidgeot EX in hand, they can play that down, search out the Zard, and then start swinging next turn. As for us, we do play down that Ivysaur. We are just going to get 2 energy off of this Earthen Vessel. I'm looking through my deck just to see if there were any Pokemon that did get prized here. I didn't see any initially, so here we're just getting the draws. We find the Chikorita. We have a Toedscool in hand, but I choose not to play it. We are just going to do a Iono. And then we do get this Nest Ball, and I'm thinking really hard, so I do decide to get another Teal Mask here. And this is where a misplay is getting ready to come up, right here. By knocking out this Charmander, I know that if he goes into Charizard next turn, which he's most likely going to do, he will be able to one-shot the Teal Mask and take 3 of my energy off of the field. So that is kind of a mistake that I make here, and it could have been potentially game losing as well, because if my opponent can set up multiple Charizards other than just like 1 or 2, if they can set up a total of 3, there's a high chance that they can actually win this game. Now in here, he did get into the Pidgeot, so he is going to be able to search for cards. One of the issues that our deck has is that we can't really answer this Pidgeot other than using a Teal Mask itself to be able to knock it out, but we are able to consistently one-shot the Zard. So most of the time, I tend to focus on going after the Zards, just knocking those out, stopping them from having a decent attacker, and just trying to win the game that way. But there is merit to using your bosses and stuff, and then using your Teal Mask to be able to actually knock out the Pidgeot to stop them with their free searches every turn. So that is another option to look for in this matchup from me doing all my testing. Now in here, he is just going straight into that Zard. He did get that Fez to draw some more as well, and he is going to take 2 prizes. So now we are behind in the prize race. And here we are just going to draw a card. We have 3 energy on this Teal mask, and we do have that energy retrieval, so we can get some more energy back. This is going to allow us to draw, and then we are just going to put down the Bayleef. I'm thinking about putting down the Regigigas as well, because they are a Terra based deck for their attackers, so it can come in clutch. It does do 330 damage, but I decide against it. I just do the Lillie's Determination to draw some more cards. We do get down the Venusaur, which is huge here, and I'm thinking about putting down another Bulbasaur here, just in case. I do know that I can do enough damage just with these 3 energy, and then we have 3 energy left on another Teal mask, so we're guaranteed to be able to use Venusaur next turn because we do have that Night Stretcher in hand as well. And then from our prizes, we actually got that Earthen Vessel, which is huge. So we can actually Night Stretcher back a Teal mask and then be able to get 2 draws instead of just a single draw. Now in here on our opponent's turn, they start off with their Pidgeot so they can actually get a rare candy into a Charizard, just thinning their deck a little bit and being able to do everything that they need. Toedscruel isn't really necessary in this matchup. It can be very helpful around this stage, is when you would want to actually get it down, if you are going to get it down, to try to stop their Night Stretchers. Here our opponent is going to Iono us. And what a hand did we get from Iono here. I mean, we got the Meganium, so we get to double our energy, meaning that we can attack with Venusaur. And then we also have a Boss's Orders that we can use for not next turn, but the following turn to actually target down that Fez and get it for game. Now in here, they are just going right into the Charizard, so they will be able to take another 2 prizes. The only worry that we would have is if they would have played another Charmander, but they didn't. So we know that they don't really have a way of knocking anything out for game. And here we are just going to throw the energy over on this Mega Venusaur, take this 2 prize knockout, eliminating their main attacker. And we actually, off the prizes, get another boss. So we have 2 bosses. We also have a Lillie's Determination in hand. The only thing that we would be worried about a little bit is, say they hit us with another Iono here and put us down to 1. That could be a little bit bad. We'd have to find a way to draw into other things, and they would have enough time to probably set up a 3rd Zard and be able to actually win the game. Now in here, they are just going to counter catcher up the Teal mask. I don't know why they did the Teal mask instead of the Meganium, because at least by doing the Meganium, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. All of our grass is counting as 2 energy, so it's just 1 energy to retreat. They do hit us with the Iono here, and we get a Lillie's Determination. There's only 2 cards that we wanted out of that Iono, and that was either a Lillie's to be able to draw more cards, or a Boss's Orders to actually win the game. So here we are top decking into a Grass Energy, which is huge. We actually get to draw another card, and then we are able to just move this energy from the Venusaur over to our Teal mask and do just enough damage to knock out the Pidgeot for game. Alright, so game number 2. This is actually going to be a fun matchup to watch. And here you think it's a Abra up there, so it has to be like just the 1 prize or Alakazam deck, but you'll be surprised at what this deck actually is. So here, as for our turn, we do get to accelerate some energy. We do have the Lillie's Determination. We got down our Stadium as well because we run 3 copies. We might as well play it down. Now in here, we are able to draw into some more. We get down the Bulbasaur as well, and just like game 1, this is kind of your expected setup for your first turn. This is generally what you're going to be aiming for, is getting down the Bulbasaur plus double Teal mask. You do want to add to it by putting down like a Chikorita if you can, and then trying to use a draw spell on the following turn to draw into both Bayleef Meganium and Ivysaur Venusaur, which is a little bit difficult. That's why we always just aim for the Bulbasaur plus both Teal masks. Here we see their spice. So they're actually just a Dragapult deck that's running the Alakazam engine as a single prize attacker that they can use as well. So here we are just drawing some cards, trying to see what all we can get. We are going to bench this Regigigas. Now then, there's a method to my madness when it comes to benching this. We know that they can just counter catcher it up and get rid of it, but at the same time, we can still take a knockout with it if we do get into a Meganium next turn. Because if we get into a Meganium plus a Mega Venusaur, I should say. Now then, here they are just going to promote that Dreepy. We're now not going to get Itchy Pollen unless they use a Night Stretcher to get it back. They do have the counter catcher, so they are going to bring up this Regigigas. And they do have a Ultra Ball, so they're probably going to grab a Dracloak here. They get rid of a Iono plus a Ursaluna, meaning that they most likely have another Iono or a Lillie's Determination in hand. Now in here, they actually got the Fez instead of the Dracloak. And they are going to use that Lillie's Determination, which draws them 8 cards, and they can still use Fez to be able to draw another 3. With that Buddy Buddy Poffin, though, they got double Abra instead of like an Abra and a Dreepy. So I wonder still if this is kind of like a smaller line of the Dragapult, where like you're only running like maybe one actual Dragapult, and then you're running like primarily just the Abras and Alakazams. But it was fun to play against. Here they are just fully setting up. They are going to be able to swing for 70 damage. And if we can get into a Venusaur, we can severely punish them this turn. Now, and we do have a energy, so we are going to be able to draw into that. We still have Stadium on the field as well. And then we are going to put that other energy there. We have a bunch of our energy on the field now. We do find a Ivysaur, and we are going to be able to get that down. And here I'm thinking I'm just going to do the Lillie's Determination, and we whiff. We don't find Meganium, we don't find our Mega Venusaur, so this is kind of really bad for us. Now, I'm just using this Nest Ball as a way to check how many Venusaurs and Meganiums I have left in the deck, and I see that I still have both copies of each left in the deck, so it's really unfortunate that we didn't hit it. So unfortunately, we're just going to have to pass the turn at that point, and they will be able to knock out this Regigigas. Luckily, a Night Stretcher or a Max Rod can easily get the Regigigas back, but it feels very bad giving them a prize for free. So that is something that we have to worry about. Now, and they also still have Counter Catcher active, and they can just Counter Catcher up our Teal Mask that has 4 energy and also deal a ton of damage to the Regigigas, being able to knock it out on the following turn with another Dragapult. We don't really have a very easy way of knocking out a Dragapult other than using Teal Mask or using Regigigas itself, so we really need to find a Venusaur if we're going to find a way to actually knock it out. Now, and this is where a Wo-Chien could have been benched, and I could have actually had a play with that next turn if I find the Mega Venusaur as well, basically stopping them from being able to do a ton of damage. But because they're running the Alakazam engine, they could easily just retreat into an Alakazam and still knock out the Wo-Chien for a prize. Now, in here, they are just going to Phantom Dive. They don't have the Counter Catcher to go with it, so they will be knocking out the Regigigas and then throwing a bunch of damage on the Bayleef. So we will be putting the hurt Teal Mask up, and here we actually find off the Bug Catching Set the Mega Venusaur. A little bit too late, and I kind of make a mistake there. I think that I thought the Bulbasaur was Mega Venusaur for a second. I was too much in my thought. So I am going to use the Picnic Basket there too, so that way then they can't just one-shot the Teal Mask with the Dragapult if they decide to promote up the other Dracloak. We will have enough damage here to knock out if we want to, but I do put down that Wo-Chien, and I kind of make a mistake here. So I am going into the Wo-Chien. I am deciding that I can just do a decent bit of damage and stop them from being able to attack with Dragapult this turn. But again, this is not a correct play, so don't make this play, folks. This is a play that can lead to you losing the game. Trust me, I had to learn the hard way. Here they use a Nest Ball and put down a Maractus. So now we have to be worried about that as a card later on in the game as well, because they can use a boss or a counter catcher to be able to stall the game. Here they do get down a jamming tower. Luckily we don't play any tools, so jamming tower doesn't really do anything to us. It's just something that they can use as a stadium bump to get rid of the Forest of Vitality. Now in here they are going to use Brock's scouting, and they find a Alakazam, and this is going to allow them to be able to draw some extra cards. So now they have 11 cards in hand. They still have 12 cards left in deck. There is merit to like trying to find a way to retreat lock them, but we don't run any retreat lock ourselves because we took out the Wellspring. That would have been a way to win against this specific variant of Dragapult, but since we don't run it, we can't really do anything about it. Now, I am going to get down the Toedscool here, but this is kind of a mistake on my part too. I should have looked a little bit better when I did that Nest Ball a couple turns ago, and seen that I didn't have the Toedscruel in my deck, that it was prized. And if I would have realized that, I wouldn't have benched this Toedscool, because it's easy to just get knocked out. Now in here, we do have a much better hand. We find a Night Stretcher, which can get us back a Energy or the Regigigas. Here they promote up the Maractus, so they could be going for a retreat lock sort of play just to set up a little bit more, because they know that they can't one-shot the Mega Venusaur unless they use an Alakazam, but they need so many cards to be able to do so. And here they are just going to use the Dracloak plus the Fez so they can see a couple extra cards. And they're up to 9 cards in hand right now. They do have the boss, so they're bringing up the Meganium, and they will be able to attach that Luminous Energy to the Maractus. They will be able to retreat lock it, so that is kind of a danger zone for us as well. Here we top deck into a Bulbasaur, which isn't really going to be helpful. We could use this Night Stretcher, be able to get back a Energy at this point, just to get some more energy on the field. But I am just going to do Mega Venusaur first. We're going to move some energy around, and we can swing, but I am going to use this boss. That way then I can hit for 140, get rid of the Alakazam, which is their secondary attacker, and at least get some major value from it. Because I can see that what they wanted to do there is force me to knock out the Maractus, and then I would have a ton of damage on my Meganium, so they could easily knock out the Meganium next turn with the spread damage that they would do from Dragapult. This way I force them to still have to attack the Meganium, and then they will still be able to take 2 prizes because they can knock out that Toedscool if they want this turn. But they're most likely just going to put some damage on the 2 Teal Mass and then put the rest of the damage on the Toedscool, so they can guarantee to take the final 2 prizes on the following turn. Here they hit us with that Iono, which we at least get a Lillie's Determination and a Max Rod, which is huge, because we can actually use that to get a whole bunch of card draw. Now, and we already used our Picnic Basket earlier, so we don't have that as a option of healing. And we don't have our Wallies either. So there's nothing that we can really do to heal our Pokemon. We're really just needing to find an answer to this Dragapult right now and hope that they can't find other ways of doing things. So here we are just getting back a ton of energy, and then I'm getting back the Regigigas as well. And we do enough damage right now with the Mega Venusaur because we got all that energy back. We will be able to attack. Now then, there is one play that can win them the game, and there's nothing that we can really do about that. And it's basically what they need is they need to find a Dragapult, they need to find their Ace Spec, which is Neo Upper most likely, because we haven't seen their Ace Spec yet, and they would need either a Counter Catcher or a Boss. At that point, they could Counter Catcher or Boss up one of the Teal Mass that has damage to it already, and then be able to knock out that, plus the Toedscool that's on the field still, and be able to win the game. So here, off of our prizes, we find the Toedscruel. So now we basically know that it's a turn too late, They will be able to take a prize most likely on that Toedscool if they want, but we're kind of hoping that they don't have those 3 cards. And here they do have the Neo Upper naturally from our Iono to them, and then they did have a Lillie's Determination as well, so they can do some draws. Here they do use the Dracloak, they find the Dragapult, and now it's do they have the Counter Catcher or not? And they do. So very close game. Unfortunately, we made one too many mistakes, and that did end up losing us the game. So here are my final thoughts on week 2. We made a lot of progress, both in terms of deck refinement and how I pilot it, even though as you saw, we are still making a couple mistakes. Now next week, we will be taking Mega Venusaur back into tournament play to see how well it performs after all of these changes. So stay tuned for next Saturday's video, and as always, if you enjoyed this one, be sure to subscribe for more. I do post new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I hope to see you guys there.